What it is, what it is, what it do, what it do. I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and in spirit, in the air tonight is my man's with the master plans, 100 grands. You know I love you, man's Matt the Graff, and we would like to collectively welcome you to Aftershock Reviews, your place for extreme music reviews. And we have an album that I was anticipating, that I'm excited, you can see it in my face, to talk about. And it's called The World That Was by Detroit Death Doom band Temple of Void. Now, this band is a band that I've been in love with for a while now, since 2017, when I heard their album, The Lords of Death, right? And I loved everything about that album, from the musicality to the vocals. It was so blissfully brutal, right? And I was literally clinging on every song. Wretched Banquet, oh my gosh, I still pumped that like it came out yesterday. And when I found out that they were going to be releasing a new album, I was automatically sold. I was like, cool, no problem, we're doing this. So, who is Temple of Void? Let's go through the band members really quick, shall we? We have Brent Satterley on bass. We have Jason Pierce on drums. We have Alec on guitars, Mike Erdody on vocals, and Don Durr on guitars. These guys, to me, have crafted an album of the year contender. Beyond the shadow of a doubt. They have done that. And I've listened to a lot of albums this year, and if you've already saw my Lucifer review, you already know that's going to be on there as well. But this one, though, this one and Wake, I'll talk about Wake in another video, but this one and Wake in particular, oh my gosh, this is such a masterful way to craft a Death Doom album, because in comparison to Lords of Death, it's completely different. While Lords of Death was really focusing on the death metal aspect of their Death Doom sound, which is probably why they called it Lords of Death, this right here, The World That Was, really zeroes in and focuses on the doom metal aspect of what they do. And because of that, that allows for them to experiment a lot more than what I am accustomed from them, right? So if we're talking about the first track, A Beast Among Us, it comes in blaring at 110 miles an hour, right? And we have the chugging, oh gosh, riffs, good face shredding riffs. But the thing that I noticed off rip though, while this thing is dangerous, it is primal, it is carnal, it's warmer, right? It's not like they're painting with blues and grays like they were on Lords of Death, right? It's not as cold and throat shredding as that album was. This one is way more warm, but also at the same time, it's way bigger in scope. It's way bigger in its approach and in its ideas and how it executes the ideas, because as we have the typical, blaring start to any Temple of Void track, the album switches, and it does it in a masterful way, to the point where it starts tapering away, and we have these reverb drenched guitars strumming this little guitar passage, right? And then all of a sudden we got this man on this kit with these huge stabs of percussion. It's just doom, 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 and it goes into this slow, oh my gosh, pummeling, crushing, rib snapping riff. And it is slow. It's painfully slow, but it threatens to steamroll you over. And as this slow riff plods its way through the duration of the track, we have Don's vocals just gurgling and screaming and scraping away at this track. It is marvelous. And as we get accustomed to this slow groove, this bludgeoning of your eardrums, it starts to fade away as the guitar notes go sour and goes out and purposely almost goes out of tune. And it goes into Self Schism, which is yet again another great track. And here's what I'm gonna say about this. A lot of the times, Death Doom can be boring. Death Doom can be very boring, right? Because a lot of the times you can tell that some people run out of ideas very quickly. And when you run out of ideas very quickly, you tend to noodle around to make sure that people think that you're a little bit more adept at your craft than what you might be, right? Or try to mask the fact that, you know what, I've got nothing else left in the can to give you. So I'm just going to make something, right? And then that point, when you really your ear starts to catch on to that, you start to tune the whole album out. You're like, you know what, that's fine. This passage is boring. This passage is boring. Matter of fact, I'm just going to just skip this whole track. This, to me, never once happens with this album. And this album does a lot of shifting, a lot of shape shifting, a lot of tempo manipulation to where it's going like blissfully slow to 20 miles an hour. Like, I'm telling you, there's some riffs on here that seem fast, but they're not really that fast. They're just faster than what their track was actually moving. And then when you get to the actual breakneck death metal speed, that just feels like it's grindcore at that point. And it's wonderful the way that they're able to play with tempo, the way that they're able to play with time signatures, the way they're able to play with atmosphere, which is another thing we need to talk about, because this is nothing but a great exercise in world building. I can see mountains, I can see rivers of lava, and I can see the stars falling out of the sky, mages and wizards. And I'm telling you, the picture this album paints is beautiful yet grim at the same time. And why do I say beautiful? I'll call it an interlude. It's an interlude track called A Single Obelisk or Obulus. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I hope one of those was right. And the reason why I say beautiful for this track in particular is because it is an acoustic track, right? And it's a Spanish acoustic guitar playing this beautiful, oh my gosh, this beautiful passage of just wonderful notes. And we actually have a bongo that's actually introduced to this as well, right? Setting an unexpected mood that still fits within the narrative of the album, right? But at the same time, it's something completely different, and it doesn't feel gimmicky. It doesn't feel like we just sat this here, like we just pasted this here to make it feel different, to give you a break before we bust you in the face again with Leave the Light Behind, right? This track in particular, while it is fleeting, it is very short, is one of my favorite moments from the album. And it's not like Temple of Void have never experimented with an acoustic guitar before or acoustic passages before. They did it on Lords of Death, but I'll be completely transparent. They were never really my favorite moments on that album, right? Because they always felt a little out of place. I think there was two, because the intro track for Lords of Death is an acoustic track. And then midway through the album, there is another acoustic track. And it always seemed to be mixed differently than the rest of the tracks. It always felt pasted on. It always felt like, you know what, I just need to skip this so I can get back to the good stuff. Well, let me tell you something. On this album now, it's part of the good stuff. I'm letting you know right now. It's my cherry in the pie. I'm telling you, it's so good. It's so good. And let's go to my favorite track real quickly. Leave the Light Behind. Leave the Light Behind has some of the best riffs I think Temple of Void have ever come up with. But the standout part to this track has got to be that chorus. That chorus is beautiful. That chorus is off-putting because you don't expect clean vocals. It's clean What? Excuse me? What? But it works, it fits, and the vocals are almost reminiscent of Pallbearer. Like the size of the riff, right? The tempo, the time signature of this track is there, right? It's like it's Pallbearer featuring Temple of Void that works within the realm of this album. And it is wonderful. It is magnificent. And I absolutely love it. It's something that I wasn't expecting. And because of that, I feel like they're really trying to dip their toes into different things and try different things and make sure that while they're still experimenting, it fits within the realm of what they're trying to do. And because of that, Leave the Light Behind is just one of my favorite tracks. It's still shifting. We still have multiple riffs strung together effortlessly and masterfully, but it's that chorus. It's those clean vocals to me, which causes that whole track to shine. The Closer, which is also the title track, is a really, really good track, but I would say that within the track listing, I kind of wish that that track wasn't the closer, right? Because I know they're trying to make it feel grand and it feels like it's the end to it. They're trying to make it feel like it's the end to it. I think either Leave the Light Behind or Casket of Shame would have been just the best way to end that album. But that's me nitpicking. That's what I have to do. I have to just go into this track listing and be like, what can I say that I can be like, maybe they should have did that differently. And it's only just the fact that I think that that track, while it is the longest track on this track listing, it feels like it doesn't feel like it's the end, right? It doesn't feel like the book closing, right? And maybe that's what they wanted to do. But for me, I was like, oh, Leave the Light Behind would have been great, or Casket of Shame would have been great to end this album with. But yet again, nitpicking at something that's just great. Just great. The name of this album, again, is called The World That Was by Detroit Death Doom band Temple of Void. Get this now on Shadow Kingdom Records. You can go to their Bandcamp, pick this up. I'm telling you, man, you will not be disappointed. Oh, it is so good. It is so good. It is so good. Check this out. I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and behind this camera, in spirit, oh my gosh, is my best friend, y'all, Matt the Graff. And we are Aftershock Reviews. Wash your hands, support your bands. Peace. Brain fart.